Hi, my name's Olivier, and I'm going to walk you through a short guide on how to write grants using AI. This will be very short and we can go much more in detail, but I'll focus on three main parts. First, how to use and not use AI for writing. Second, how to use AI and large language models to assess calls and to write them. And then in the third part, we'll cover how to refine what you've written and to also use AI to review your application to make sure that it's high quality. So first of all, part one. How to use and not use AI. So obviously, most of you have been using GPT and other tools out there. The way I like to look at these models is that there are two main skills. One is they know quite a bit, facts, and they also are very good with language. So their ability to summarize, simplify, and manipulate language. Those are really the two skills that I like looking at it. Obviously, it's more complex than that, but that's how I like to simplify it. And so when you think of it, you can use these language models or like ChatGPT and others, and we'll cover a few, to do either of those two things. What I recommend is don't rely on these language models. So LLM is large language model, which ChatGPT is, and don't rely on their knowledge too much. So yes, you can ask facts and it'll give you facts, but don't rely on it too much. Instead, what you want to be doing is actually injecting your own information and knowledge and asking it to do that second skill, which is to work with that unstructured information and use it to your advantage and write it for you. So that's really my number one tip around how to use these new AI tools that have been coming out for the past year and a bit. One important privacy tip is to not paste any private information into these models. Some of them can use your information to train models. So you want to avoid putting in information like emails or phone numbers. And the way you can do that is before you paste in anything, you can do a quick search. I don't know if you know, Control F is to find something and look for the @ sign. That's most likely going to find any emails that are inside your text. So that's a quick way to do that. And for phone numbers as well, you can use like +1 or things like that. That can help you search for those numbers, but avoid pasting in any private information. As for quality as well, a tip is to always reread what it gives you. It's going to sound great. It's going to look amazing. You just want to grab it and copy paste it and use the information that is provided to you. Don't. Switch on your critical thinking brain and read slowly what the model gave you. It can sometimes sound great, but it can be completely wrong. So use that critical brain, really switch that on. Don't just take what is given to you because it might be wrong. So the tools we're going to use today are ChatGPT, which I'm sure you're familiar with, which is free. All of these are free and available to anyone. Anthropic has a model too called Claude, and that is available as well. And then Perplexity is, think of it as like the new Google. Really, we're seeing this company changing the way we do search. And what it does is it searches for you and then it actually reads the information that it searched and it can provide you with an answer. So great for research. So all three are going to be used. We don't have to use all of them. I will be using them to help and give you an indication of how to use it. Also, they all have paid plans. So about $20 US a month allows you to use more sophisticated models. If you are going to put any money, and I highly recommend it, is to pay for particularly the ChatGPT Plus, which allows you to access their model called GPT-4. Okay, so I'll show you a little bit. We need to understand a little bit how language models work before we can use them effectively. So ChatGPT, everyone knows. You can ask it any question, it'll give you an answer with its internal knowledge. But the strength of these models is actually its ability to take the knowledge you provide it and then give you an answer. So we've all said, let's say you're writing a grant. In my case, I'm going to take an example of a grant. I'm going to use a real application for funding for AI, obviously. And I'm going to use the example of one of the products that we've built, which is Wash AI, to see if we can get it funded. And what I could say, well, I could ask GPT, some advice about AI, but of course it's limited because it only has the information that it was trained on, whereas there might be new things that you want to be using. So instead of just asking it simple questions, we're going to use prompting to inject information into it. So The first thing we're going to do is we're going to assess a call for proposal. And so we're going to give it information, and then we're going to ask it to assess this call and how it matches our project. So the prompt we're going to use, and we can use this in GPT or in Anthropic, is we're going to first use this statement, which is telling GPT how to adjust how it's thinking. So we're telling it to be an expert grant writer. This does make a difference in the answer. If you exclude this, in some ways it behaves more neutrally versus shifting its model to behave somewhat like a grant writer. So using you are an expert grant writer. And then we're going to ask it one simple task. We want to avoid multiple tasks. With the larger models like GPT-4, you can ask multiple sequential tasks, and it's quote unquote smart enough to do that, which I've done here. But if you are finding that you're not getting good quality, focus on one task at a time for the model. So in this case, we're going to ask it to analyze the call. Now, what I've done here in this text here, and I'm going to paste this into GPT. I've used this thing. These are delimiters. Now I'm using the syntax with like an open and a close. Like this could be anything. I could do this. It really doesn't matter. It's changing color just because of the tool that I'm using here. But really, I'm just referring to like, okay, there's this thing that I'm going to be putting in call, and there's this thing that I'm going to be putting in project. So this helps the model look at that delimiter and focus on, okay, this is the content that the model is reading versus the instruction that I'm giving it. So I have a call for proposal in call. I'm asking it to read it in detail and extract the critical aspects of this call using bullet points, and then analyze my project in project. Again, a delimiter could be anything, and provide an outline for how to align the project to the call. Indicate where the project aligns and doesn't align. So I've asked quite a few things here. Again, I know that GPT-4 is capable. If you're using just GPT 3.5 or smaller model, you might want to just stop at this point and saying, just give me the critical aspects of this call. So you're asking it to look at the call and basically summarize it to in bullet points. The reason I'm asking it to do it in this sequence is that just by having it do this step of extracting the critical aspects of the call, it will do the second task better because it's using the first part of the information and its attention on that to be able to do the second pass better. So what I've done with this is my little like snippets of prompts, and I will essentially here paste in the call, and I will paste in my project description in here. And so you can see I put, again, the color is only because of the tool that I'm using. These colors go away, and this could be, I could do this. It doesn't really matter. It's smart. I can write end call. Like I'm just trying to say, look, here's the thing where it's the call for proposal. And then here is my project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this as is. It's kind of my template. I'm now hitting copy. And then I will paste it into GPT. I'm using GPT-4 here. You can use GPT 3.5. 4 you have to pay. I highly recommend the $20. It's so worth it. Thinking of the time that you're saving. So I'm going to paste it in here. Now, obviously, I need to paste now in my call, in the details here. I'm going to paste the call for proposal. I'm just going to pull a PDF. This is a PDF. This is an actual call that came out. Deadline has ended. And I'm literally going and I'm hitting Control A to select all the text. Doesn't matter if it's structured, really doesn't matter at all. I'm hitting Control C to copy. And then I'm going to go back into GPT here. And then I'm going to literally just dump it in here. Now, you can see it's actually quite structured. It doesn't matter if it's got random characters and it's all a mess. It really doesn't matter. This is unstructured information. Language models are very competent at reading unstructured information. So I've dumped that in there, and the call could be longer. You can paste other extra information about the call that might come from a web page or anything like that. You know, just give yourself some space and paste it on there. And then the project is going to be my project. Now here you want to probably build a decent description of your project somewhere, or collate information about the project that you want to get funded, put it into a Word doc, and then dump it in there. I, in my case, have an article that kind of explains the Wash AI, which is the project I want to get funded for. So I'm going to go into the article itself. And this article pretty much explains, there's that article. So I'm going to grab it there. Let me go back. And then there's this, when I hit learn more, there's this other article. So I'm just going to literally grab this whole thing. I'm hitting copy. and then I'm going to hit paste, and then I'm going to hit shift enter, and I'm just going to paste another article, which helps explain. This is the other one. It gives more detail about the project. I'm just going to copy, and I'm dumping information. Now, the question might be, how much can I dump in here? Well, GPT now has up to 120,000, and Claude has 200,000 tokens. Now a token, think of 100 tokens is 75 words. So you're looking at, basically you can paste up to the content of a 300-page book in terms of what it's capable of reading, if you want, and understanding. So that's its context. It's called its context. So you can dump a whole bunch of information and make it process it. That's why those delimiters are important here, to help separating the instruction, which is here, and the context, which is all the stuff that I've pasted. So the call is, you haven't read it, essentially it's about funding AI for human agency. The project that I pasted in is Wash AI, which is a tool that helps with knowledge in the water and sanitation sector. So that's it. I've used my template, dumped it in, and let's see what GPT provides me. Now, what I always do, I always make these models compete with each other. So I'm actually, while it's busy typing this out, it's taking a while because GPT-4 is much slower, but about 20 times more competent than GPT-3. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to take my whole prompt, and then I'm going to go to Claude, which is another model, and I'm literally giving it, I'm pasting the whole thing. Now, Claude will, if the text is long, it'll put it into a little file, but it's literally the same content that I gave GPT. And we're going to compare notes between Claude and GPT. So GPT is pretty smart. It went straight to the main task, which is to align the Wash AI project to the call for proposals. And it's going to do the analysis part first, like I asked. Now, while doing this information that it's summarized makes it answer the better part of the alignment. If I had not asked it to do this first task, this response, just asking to align straight away, won't be as good. So models, if you ask them to reflect on information and then do something with that, it's more effective than just do something with that. So we're not going to read through this. It looks pretty impressive. It talks about where the alignments are. I'm interested to see where it doesn't align. What does this say? It gives providing some recommendations for change and details around risk management. It's focusing on, how to be specific around the low-income settings. Anyway, pretty good. And let's see what Claude provides. Claude was better in separating the gaps from the alignment. Remember in my instruction, I said gap and alignment. So here's the analysis, bullet points, the alignment, where it does work, and the gaps not focused specifically on individual life decisions or personal agency. Interesting. So whatever information I gave it didn't speak to this, which means that we want to show, because I believe, of course I'm biased, but my project will have effect on personal agency. So I would want to make sure that I emphasize that part as well. Interesting that it says that it actually made an assessment of what the budget would be. And it noticed that it would need more than 400K, which is not true. But it suspected that it might need more than 400K, which is the limit of the call for proposal in this case. So now what I have is I have this piece of information, and I have also the alignment piece of information here, which I can then use in my future steps when I'm asking the AI to write. So what we did is we analyzed the call using project information and the call information, and we've got some information to move forward.